Hey guys, welcome back to Blazed and Confused, and today I'm going to be breaking down and predicting UFC 262, headlined by Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira. So kicking off the main card, we have Match Now versus Rogerio, Bontron. Now it's a great fight in the bantamweight division. Match Now coming off a decision win over Tyson Nam, who's a very tough, durable fighter in the bantamweight division. Rogerio Bontron's just unfortunately coming off a loss over Kai France, but no shame in losing to a really young up and coming savage in Kai France. He did look very impressive in that fight. Rogerio was able to land some takedowns on Kai France and dominate him on the ground. I thought he was winning the fight up until he got knocked out, unfortunately, but a great display of heart from Bontron. As I say, no shame in losing to a killer in Kai France. It's also a big chance for Rogerio Bontron to get a number 8 opponent. So it's a good step up for him in competition and sort of redeem himself and still remain in the top 10 of the bantamweights. So as for who I'd favour, I'm definitely going to be favouring Matt Schnell. I think Matt Schnell is just a bit more relentless in his takedowns, a bit more effective. He's able to utilise the ground and pound a bit better, just a bit more effective. But I think it should be an exciting fight to kick off the main card. I know we were originally meant to get Jacka Manson versus Edmund Shabazian on this card, which has since been moved to the Cody Garbrandt versus Rob Font card, which is going to be on May 22nd. That's another fight to look forward to next weekend. As for my prediction for this fight, I definitely see Match Now getting a submission. I could definitely see Rogerio being a bit scrappy with his takedowns, Match Now sort of taking advantage and taking his back and getting that rear naked choke. But let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of this fight. Who do you think is going to win? But moving on to the next fight is an absolute sick fight in the featherweight division. We have Shane Burgos versus Edison Barboza. Now I can't wait for this fight. If you look at the record of Shane Burgos, he's 13-2. So he's only really lost to two of the best in the division. He's lost to Calvin Kattar, Josh Emmett. Had a fight of the year candidate against Josh Emmett, where he just sort of non-stop pressure, non-stop striking, never took a back step, walked forward all the time in the entire fight. It was just incredible. That's why he may have seemed a bit disappointed why he didn't get the win. He seemed absolutely gutted, but completely understand why he would think it, just because he was probably the aggressor. But if you look at Josh Emmett, he was busting him up and he was able to land a few knockdowns later on in the fight. But still a great display of striking. Shane Burgos has never ever been in a boring fight. He brings it every single time, hence the name Hurricane. So he's got some great stats. He's definitely a future title contender in the featherweight division. I think if you look at his average fight time, 11 minutes, which isn't a whole lot of time. If you look at his significant strikes landed per minute, 7.06 per min, which is a very high percentage rate. Significant strikes 47%, which is again absolutely incredible. He has absorbed quite a lot of strikes, but his output is way higher, which is a big deal. He's a great fighter, as I say. If you look at Edson Barboza, he's a true vet in the UFC. He's been in there with killers. He's been in there with Khabib. He's been in there with Gaethje. He's only been in there with the best fighters in the world. So I think this is a big opportunity for Edson Barboza. Right now he's currently ranked number 13. If he beats Burgos, who's number 9, it'll place him in the top 10 and allow him to sort of build his way up in the featherweight division and sort of set his ambition straight. He's already said he wants to be a featherweight champion, and I definitely believe he can do that. I definitely believe he's got the potential. His experience and his grit will play a factor. As I say, he's never really been in a boring fight. If you look at the Dan Ige fight, unfortunately he lost that fight, but it was very close. He's able to land some good takedowns, some good strikes on Dan Ige, definitely getting backed up. Even Dana White thought Edson Barboza won that fight, which just shows how close that was. But if you look at the fight stylistically, you got the kickboxer and the striker, so this should be an absolute banger of a fight. Definitely could see this being a fight of the night. Let me know your thoughts down below, what you guys think of this fight, your prediction. Do you think Shane Burgos will get the victory? As for who I'm going to be favouring and predicting, I definitely predict Shane Burgos will get the win. As much as I do like Edson Barboza, I just want to see a new wave of UFC fighters take over. All the new talent sort of step up and present a name for themselves, which Burgos has already done. But if he beats Edson Barboza, who's got a very high following, very high profile UFC fighter, if he can get a former title contender on his resume, definitely sets him up with some of these big fights in the featherweight division. The Arnold Allens, the Dan Igues, the Korean Zombies, the Yair Rodriguez. Says, if Zabit comes back, a possible fight with Zabit, or Giga Chikadze's just coming off a very impressive win. So even that fight for either guys, if even Edson Barboza is to get a win, it definitely sets up for some great fights in the featherweight division. But yeah, I definitely predict Shane Burgos getting a fight done by knockout. I think all the time that he's sort of been delayed. He was originally meant to fight Hakeem Dawodu many times. He was going to fight on the McGregor card, then he was going to fight on, I believe, the Usman versus Burns card. I believe then he was scheduled for a fight night, so he's had a bit of bad luck, but I think he's going to come out, really make a name for himself, really make a good impression on the UFC, prove that he's still one of the top dogs in the featherweight division and get that knockout. But moving on to the next fight, we've got Caitlin Chookagian versus Vivian Araújo. Now, I don't really know too much about Vivian Araújo. I just know she's a young up-and-coming Brazilian fighter. She's very well-rounded. This is a big opportunity for Vivian. She's ranked number 7. You've got Caitlin Chookagian, who's number 2. So, as I say, big chance for Vivian to cement herself as one of the top 5 best flyweights in the world. Records 10-2. So she's only lost twice, which is quite insane. If you look at Chookagian, 14-4, which is a very good record too. So the experience Chookagian's got will definitely play a factor, I believe. She's been in there with Shevchenko and Andrade. Fortunately, lost to both of them, but if she can bounce back from them, I know she's also coming off a victory as well. But she's only going to learn, as a better fighter. She's only going to become a better fighter when you lose to 2 former champions. So I definitely think all that experience she's gained, as I say, will play a factor against Vivian, who hasn't really faced anyone as top tier as Chookagian. But as I say, if she can sort of come out, stop the relentless pressure that Chookagian puts on every fight. If you look at Chookagian, she's very accomplished in the flyweight division. She's made a lot of good stats. Stats are very high. Most decisions in the flyweight division. Her striking output is very high. 4.19 landed per min. Significant strikes 35%. So defense, takedown defense, I believe is 62%, which is quite good. So again, she's a very high pace, high pressure fighter. If you look at the style of Vivian Araújo, she's very well rounded, black belt in jiu-jitsu, good striking. Actually, the stats, she's actually ahead of Chookagian in the stat margin, even in striking and grappling. So it's quite interesting to see how that will play a factor. This will definitely be a high-paced, high-level fight. As for who I'd favour, I'm definitely going to favour Chookagian. I think Chookagian is definitely one of the best flyweights in the division. She's one of the most well-rounded fighters in the division. I think Chookagian will definitely get a win by decision. As I say, if she can just stick to what she always does, as I say, just sort of pick her opponents apart, wear them down, tire them out, make them second guess themselves, sort of get them on the back foot, then I think it should be an easy win for Chookagian. But if you look at the deadliness of Araújo, just a young, hungry, up and coming contender, and I think this also puts Vivian in a good spot. If she can come out there and if she can dominate Chookagian, if she can finish Chookagian, then I think the UFC might even push her to get a title shot, say over Joanne Calderwood versus Lauren Murphy, who they're scheduled to fight June 5th. So yeah, I'd say if she can come in there, get a very impressive win, then there's no reason why the UFC won't push her. She's Brazilian, so she's a very global fighter. Will attract a lot of Brazilian fans. Even if you look at Stipe Miocic versus Fabricio Werdum, the venue that it sold 45,000 people. So UFC will definitely look and see her as a potential star for the flyweight division. As I say, if she can get a very good win over one of the most experienced, durable fighters in the flyweight division. But moving on to the next fight, we've got Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush. Now, this is a very good fight to look forward to, a sick co-main event. This is a bit of a crossroads for Tony Ferguson. He is on a bit of a 2-fight skid, but he's only lost to two of the best fighters in the division, Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. You know, he has gotten dominated, unfortunately, by those guys, but this is a good win for Tony, a good opponent for Tony to sort of prove that he's still one of the top 5 best lightweights in the world, which I truly believe he is. You know, even though Beneil Dariush is a really tough fighter and he's very well-rounded, got great jiu-jitsu, he's got great striking, you know, he's very durable, he's got a very good gas tank. It's very rare that he gets tired. He hasn't really shown too much of a weakness. You know, he's got wins over Ferreira, close, you know, two really solid names in the division. But yeah, as I say, if Tony can sort of get back on the winning ways, I'd definitely love to see Tony get one last run for an official lightweight belt. I think he really deserves it. You know, I think if he can get in there, beat Dariush and maybe get a win over a fighter like, you know, RDA, even though I think he already beat RDA, but if he can just sort of start picking these names, you know, the names in the division, maybe like the Makhachevs, the Hookers, and just sort of, you know, continue to beat these young hungry guys. And I think the UFC will definitely see Tony, you know, he's still got a fight left in him, and they will definitely push him for a title shot down the line, which I hope that they do. But if you look at Beneil Dariush, as I say, it's a big opportunity for him, you know, number 9 versus number 5, so you can definitely see Tony bringing out the dog in Dariush, and Dariush really giving it his all, which he should, because if he does beat Tony, it definitely puts him in that ranking to get those top 5 matchups, you know, the Poiriers, the Oliveiras, you know, the McGregors, if he does something impressive. So this will definitely put Dariush in a good position. You know, if you look at the fight stylistically, both guys are very wild, very scrappy with their striking, with their grappling, very sort of unorthodox. You never know what they're really going to throw. So as I say, it's a very sort of even pace fight. Even if you look at the records, you know, Tony's 26-4, Beneil's 20-4, so it's very sort of even in their experience. But Tony Ferguson has been in there with some of the best in the world. This is definitely Beneil's toughest test. So yeah, as I say, great fight to look forward to. Let me know your thoughts on the fight down below. Let me know your prediction. Do you think Tony can come back, you know, sort of continue to go on a bit of winning streak, or do you think maybe Tony's past his best and now it's time for a new wave of UFC fighters to appear? But moving on to the main event, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. This is an absolute sick fight to look forward to. You know, Charles Oliveira is on an 8-fight winning streak. He's been in the UFC for a very, very long time. Since he's very young, he's sort of only been in there, as I say, with the best in the world. You know, Paul Felder, he's been in there with Paul Felder, which is cool. Been in there with Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee, so he's been in there with some top dogs in the lightweight division. As I say, got a ton of fights, ton of experience. You know, very well rounded. His striking's getting better and better every fight. His jiu-jitsu's always been elite. So as I say, he's a tough test for Michael Chandler. You know, if you look at Michael Chandler's a good grappler, got a lot of accolades in wrestling, but he's also a good striker, hence the name Iron Michael Chandler. You know, Michael Chandler coming off a really impressive win over Dan Hooker, knocked him out in the first round on the McGregor Poirier card. So what better way to sort of boost your following on one of the biggest fights of all time. So I definitely will be rooting for Michael Chandler in this fight. I think even though Charles Oliveira does present a lot of challenges, I think Michael Chandler might be a bit reluctant to go to the ground with Oliveira. I don't see him really wanting to do that. As I say, if Oliveira is going to win, it is going to be submission. I can't really see Oliveira knocking Michael Chandler out. I think if Oliveira stands for Michael Chandler, it's suicide. Michael Chandler's way too powerful, way too deadly, way too fast for Oliveira, I believe. But as I say, if Oliveira can get a takedown on Michael Chandler and get that submission, I definitely think that's his key to victory here. But yeah, a really great fight. You know, it's a bit of a interesting fight because, you know, now that Khabib's left, there is a hole in the lightweight division. Someone needs to step up, prove they can take over Khabib's spot. I mean, no one really can, but, you know, sort of take that name off being, you know, the next big superstar in the lightweight division. I think Oliveira's got all the potential just because of the following that he'll bring. You know, if the UFC can keep on producing these Brazilian champions and getting these really big venues to sell out there, I think Oliveira's definitely got the potential to do so. But if you look at Michael Chandler, he's very good for the company of the UFC. He's a fan-friendly fighter. You know, he's very respectable. You know, he's very easy to sort of promote. You know, he's a good family man. He's an all-round good person for the company. He's a good poster boy where the UFC can just sort of have these fun events and continue to sell out all these arenas. You know, and I think Michael Chandler could definitely be similar to, you know, Daniel Cormier. You look at Daniel Cormier and everything he stood for in the light heavyweight division. It's very rare that you find someone who really dislikes Daniel Cormier, and I think it's the same goes with Michael Chandler. You know, it's very likable, very easy to root for. If you look at his Instagram, you know, if you follow his sort of lifestyle, he's got a very, as I say, fan-friendly lifestyle. He's, you know, very rare you don't really ever hear anything negative about him. So I think he's got everything going for him in this fight. It definitely sets him up to be a big UFC superstar. You know, but let me know your thoughts on this fight down below. I'm very excited for this fight. I think it's an absolutely great fight, and you know, the winner of this will definitely be facing the winner of McGregor versus Poirier. So I think, as I say, these two dudes just need to put on a great display and really prove to Conor and Poirier, hey, we're two of the best lightweights in the division. Come get some, and I believe that's what they're gonna do. But as I say, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Let me know all your prediction on the fights down below, and stay blazed. Like, subscribe, and peace.
Thank you.